The Dark Empire and Operation Shadowhand, for those who don't know, are some of the most interesting pieces of the expanded universe and Star Wars material. After Palpatine's supposed death at the Battle of Endor, it was revealed that Palpatine had many clone bodies waiting for the reborn Emperor on Biss as he began to make plans to retake the galaxy in secret and regain his strength. And Shadowhand was the Dark Empire's invasion of the galaxy again in 10 ABY. Meanwhile, Palpatine's agents made many overtures to the deep core warlords, being Blitzer Harsk of Zero Command, Truton Teradok, and Sandra Delvardis. The remnants of the loyalist Imperial ruling council also accepted the reborn Emperor as well, as did the otherwise isolationist alignment led by Artus Kane. Most of the factions in Palpatine's alliance actually hated one another, but they all had feared both the Emperor's wrath and missing out on the spoils of a successful campaign. These warlords not only boosted Palpatine's military forces, but also made most Imperial warring powers in the galaxy loyal to the Dark Empire instead of opposing it. Effects of having these warlords saw the pre-Shadowhand campaign with the battles of Metelos and the Second Battle of Coruscant, for example, witness Imperial victories as well as the Imperial Mutiny, where Imperial forces deemed unworthy to Palpatine were decimated. Furthermore, the pre-Shadowhand campaign set the conditions for the Dark Empire's initial onslaught onto the galaxy. Artus Kane was also killed during the pre-Shadowhand campaign. Without him, the alignment, which was one of the most successful warlord kingdoms, fell. But what if the Imperial warlords didn't rally behind Palpatine and the Dark Empire, and the reborn Emperor was on his own? Maybe they got used to the idea of independently ruling over their own chunks of the galaxy and don't want to serve the Emperor once again. Or perhaps the fact that most of the warlords hated one another so much that they couldn't work together again, even under the reborn Emperor. Regardless, the warlords aren't going to be backing up the Dark Empire here. The first obvious change to the galaxy is that there will be no major pre-Shadowhand campaign by the warlords and remains of the legitimate Empire, which will make things significantly more difficult for the reborn Emperor. Coruscant will have been a lot more difficult to take for the Empire, and it's likely that Palpatine's forces would have come out of hiding to conduct the pre-Shadowhand campaign themselves, and also have to take out various smaller warlord factions in Palpatine's way. In an alternate Operation Shadowhand, Palpatine will have already expended vast conventional resources in the pre-Shadowhand campaign, but he would probably have saved his super weapons such as the Eclipse-class dreadnoughts, Galaxy Gun, and World Devastators for Shadowhand itself. One faction that may still exist in Palpatine's way is of course Artus Kane's alignment, if Kane isn't still lured into a trap by the New Republic at the same time of the pre-Shadowhand campaign. Fighting will of course occur between every single faction during Shadowhand. Palpatine's already depleted forces are going to have to not only fight off the New Republic, but the warlords which are in Palpatine's way. Now I feel like Palpatine will leave some of the deep core warlords alone as long as they didn't interfere with his campaign, as the reborn Emperor will want to focus on immediate threats. Despite this, opportunistic warlords like Sandra Delvardis will likely attack the Dark Empire, thinking they can get away with things, but they won't be able to. I think it probably goes without saying that without warlord support, the Dark Empire will fall a lot earlier than it actually did, as the reborn Emperor used valuable resources in the pre-Shadowhand campaign, and then even more to deal with warlords who attack the Dark Empire. Warlords that are left will of course grab what they can from the Empire, which may or may not be the Crimson Empire at this time, as who knows if Carnor Jax will be able to even betray the reborn Emperor by killing all of his bodies before the Dark Empire is destroyed. So who knows who rules the Empire at this point. Overall though, in the grand scheme of things, not too much changes other than the fact that some warlords might have larger territories after the Dark Empire falls, and would maintain that territory well after the potential Crimson Empire is defeated. It might impact how the warlords fight one another against depending on who seized what systems and shifts in some power dynamics in the messiness of the post- and or warlord kingdoms. But overall, I believe that everyone will still be gassed to death by Dala at Toss Beacon, but you never know. Maybe without Delvardis, and if someone like Harsk gained a lot more territory, then that warlord may not come to Toss Beacon or take power before Dala can. It's also worth noting that since Palpatine's strategy has changed, it's possible that the Eclipse and Eclipse 2 are not destroyed, in the same way that things may also be different as to where they are deployed given powerful deep core warlords are against Palpatine. If this were the case, then the two dreadnoughts can cause much more devastation on the New Republic, as during the actual Operation Shadowhand, the ships were pretty easily destroyed before they could do much. Additionally, if Palpatine still has his final death, These super dreadnoughts could be acquired by the Crimson Empire to wreak havoc or fall into the hands of some warlord to cause even more chaos onto the galaxy, and that would where real changes would be coming. However, I can't really accurately predict that. But this is all just my opinion. What do you think would have happened had the Imperial warlords not supported the reborn Emperor and the Dark Empire? Write in the comments, and thank you for watching.